Tonight, the state's harvest exceeds total yield expectations and the Eyre Peninsula frocks up for the Port Lincoln Cup.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Casey Treelaw begins now.
Good evening. The state's harvest for 2018 has produced mixed results. Final numbers were well down on the long-term average as dry conditions ravaged part of the state. However, the result has exceeded expectations.
A mixed year for our farmers. Dry conditions which ravaged parts of the Eyre Peninsula saw many face a write-off season with little growing, while others had good seasons. Their fortunes are reflected in the state's total harvest for 2018.
Look, we've had a very trying season.
The final haul came in at 5.3 million tonnes, significantly lower than the long-term average. Barley yields were strong, while wheat was drastically lower due to a lack of rainfall and frost. On a positive note, the final amount surpassed expectations by 400,000 tonnes, while revenue was higher than last year.
For those farmers that were able to harvest the crop is good news.
The patchy conditions were reflected in our region. Districts north of Goyder's Line struggled, while those in southern areas were fortunate to have good conditions.
Eyre Peninsula and York Peninsula and down in the southeast have seen record crops. We look above the Goyder's Line and a lot of farmers have not harvested.
The focus now turns to the forthcoming season, with hopes of greener pastures.
We look forward to a prosperous season, as we do. Being primary producers, we are the eternal optimist.
John Hunt, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Police are hunting a man who allegedly indecently assaulted a woman in Wales Stewart. The woman was walking along Cartledge Avenue just after 7 a.m. on Wednesday when she was assaulted. The man was last seen running into scrubland. He's described as 170 centimetres tall, wearing a camouflage hooded jumper and black pants. Anyone with information should call Crime Stoppers. 400 homes in Port Pirie lost phone connections yesterday after a large amount of copper and lead cables were dug up and stolen from underground access areas. 2 men aged 46 and 37 were arrested following an investigation by local detectives who found piles of lead and copper cabling inside a shed. The cost to replace and repair the phone lines is believed to be in excess of $30,000. Both men were refused bail and are set to appear in court at a later date. It's official, South Australia's sweltered through the state's hottest summer on record, with the Bureau of Meteorology releasing its seasonal data. Many regional towns recording their highest ever temperature records.
Extreme heat conditions continue, as the mercury in Port Augusta climbed to 41 degrees today and an expected top of 42 tomorrow. The start of autumn felt a lot like the middle of summer. The weather in the last 3 months has reached unprecedented levels.
Maximum temperatures across the state were the hottest we've ever seen across South Australia this year.
New data from the Bureau of Meteorology shows seasonal temperatures were more than 3 degrees above average. The records tumbling across the region, with Port Pirie, Port Lincoln and Kadina all notching their highest levels on record. One Spencer Golf town earning a scorching title.
Port Augusta recorded the hottest temperature of the summer, 49.5 degrees.
The hot conditions also led to the state's driest summer in 33 years, and experts predict the rain drought will continue throughout the autumn months.
It's probably more likely the rainfall will be slightly less than average.
And any relief from the heat could still be a distant dream.
There is a very strong indication that temperatures will be above average through the next 3 months.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Today's extreme heat saw severe fire bans in place across the Eyre and York Peninsula regions, with fire authorities declaring the same forecasted bans again tomorrow. The first few days of autumn delivering very hazardous fire weather conditions. A cool change is expected, however, to arrive on Sunday when temperatures will drop across most of the Spencer Gulf. The CFS is urging residents to remain vigilant and ensure they have their bushfire survival plans in place. A local film festival in Broken Hill has received a funding boost from the state government. After terrible weather soured last year's Perfect Light Film Festival, organisers are hoping 2019 goes a lot smoother.
Perfect funding for the perfect light.
Fantastic to get the support of Destination New South Wales again. It's great to have that commitment to the arts in that region.
The annual Perfect Light Film Festival will return to Broken Hill for the third time, with a date soon to be penciled in. The event sees local, national and international filmmakers come to the city to screen their creations and win prizes. Only 2 years old, the reception the festival has received has seen it gifted $20,000 from the state government.
You look at it and you go, oh, it's just a screen and a couple of tents. How expensive can it be? And then you start breaking down the budget, and it is expensive to make it all happen. The screens aren't cheap.
While entries for this year's festival are not open just yet, Mr Bastoni's encouraging local filmmakers to get an idea and go for it. Just make sure it's under 8 minutes.
You don't have to be an experienced filmmaker to enter. Just need a great idea and a camera and a bit of initiative. And we really welcome local entries.
Patrick Ryanke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, the Eyre Peninsula frocks up for the Port Lincoln Cup, and this weekend's AFL showdown set to be a scorcher. Hello again. It was off to the races today, with hundreds of spectators heading trackside for the annual Port Lincoln Cup, many dressing up aiming to impress at this year's Fashions on the Field.
It was a full day of fashion, food and racing, as more than 3,000 packed the Port Lincoln Race Club.
A day full of colour and glamour and lots of racing action, and we're really looking forward to it.
The annual race drawing people from all across the state and nation, an event that encourages you to dress to impress.
It's a very traditional event and something that lots and lots of people really look forward to, and we get visitors from intrastate, interstate and even overseas.
The Pims Bar making a return this year as a favourite amongst the crowds, as well as the annual Fashion on the Field event.
Received not only a range of prizes, but direct entry into the South Australian Fashion at the Races final in Adelaide. Organisers
say a large amount of preparation went into the races to make sure it runs smoothly.
The marquees and all the fittings and so forth. Basically a week's work.
Well, it's just cracked 40 degrees here at the Port Lincoln Race Club, but that's done little to keep the massive crowds away.
Doesn't keep us away from the races, nothing keeps us away from the races.
Having a
fabulous time.
Yeah. It's a great day.
Having an awesome time.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Country Arts SA is inviting regional residents to have their say about the future of arts in the state. The government is developing a plan for the sector, with regions a key focus.
Regional SA is becoming increasingly known for its thriving arts community. From the Salt Festival in Port Lincoln to the Weiler Art Prize through to Port Pirie, there's plenty to see and do, and those with an interest are being sought to help paint its future.
We would love to hear from anyone as well about their ideas.
The state government is developing an arts plan to help keep the sector going strong. Mr Saffel says there's a strong commitment to give regional areas a voice.
I see this as such an enormous opportunity. There's no doubt that the government is highly committed.
4 town hall meetings will occur in regional areas, alongside written submissions.
They'll be calling for submissions from arts organisations, from local governments, any organisation.
Country Arts already has a wish list for the final script. Better technology, a stronger focus on artists and improved infrastructure are top billing.
They are sort of falling behind in terms of, I guess, the latest contemporary equipment.
You can contact them via email at countryarts.org.au. John Hunt, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Lincoln artist Timothy Coote is preparing to open his first Australian exhibition since spending a decade in France. The launch being held at the local arts centre, showcasing more than 35 original works.
It's an exhibition dedicated to the Eyre Peninsula, our region captured on oil canvas. Timothy Coote debuting a collection of artwork that's taken him over a year to complete.
New Year's Day last year I started this body of work. Worked through the entire seasons, travelling up and down the coast.
The exhibition details the technique and design which goes into every artwork, from the first drawing to the final product.
Normally there's going to be about 35-ish plus 9 composition sketches and drawings for people to have a look at some of the process.
Timothy spent over a decade in France learning and studying from renowned artists, but it was the Eyre Peninsula's unique beauty which drew him back home.
They're tonal realism landscapes. I've thrown myself into doing landscapes from around the region.
The month-long exhibition is being held at the Nautilus Arts Centre, with Q&As and tours being held throughout March.
So that people can ask me questions about the process and the technique, and for local artists who are interested in maybe learning a bit more about how the paintings are constructed.
Nathan Rector, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The AFL showdown between the Crows and Power in Port Pirie is expected to be a scorcher, with temperatures set to edge on 40 degrees. Spectators are being urged to be sun-smart during all the football action this weekend.
Just one more sleep until football mania hits Memorial Oval, and it's set to be a boiler of a showdown. For punters trying to escape the sun, you won't be allowed to bring along an umbrella. But fear not, council has assured us the cooling options will be available on the day.
Some shade structures set up on top of the mounds, and we will have a couple of misting tents where people can cool down.
The competition won't be the only thing heating up, with temperatures set to soar to 39, forcing the AFL to invoke its heat policy. Longer breaks during quarters and unlimited interchange rotations will be added to the game. Both clubs wanting the AFL to remove the runner cap to allow adequate amount of drink stewards to keep players hydrated. Finding a spot to park near the Oval will be complicated, with Memorial Drive, Mary Ellie and Gertrude Street set to be closed.
We've set up a park and ride system at the Phoenix Park Trotting Club, so people will be able to park there, and there'll be a bus that will ferry people to the ground.
Deck chairs, food and non-alcoholic beverages will be permitted, but expect to be searched. The game is set to kick off at 3:45. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break, a preview into the Port Augusta Cricket Grand Final, and we'll have the weekend's weather details with Britt. Welcome back. Well, after 16 weeks of Port Augusta cricket, it's all come down to South Augusta and Corn battling it out in the grand final. South's going in the favourites, but their opponent is looking to make it 3 back-to-back titles.
One last net session before South Augusta's biggest match of the year.
It's always a pretty tough game against Corn.
The minor premiers have been in strong form throughout the season, but face a battle with the men from the north who are eyeing off a three-peat.
Look, this is the grand final that Pack has been waiting for 2 or 3 years, mate.
Both sides anticipate strong performances with the ball will hold the key.
I'll probably back our bowlers in, to be honest. They've been performing all year.
I think both sides have got excellent bowling attacks.
But it's the battle between the two opposing captains which is shaping up as the most mouth-watering. Corn's Alex Hosking, who was the competition's leading run scorer last year, versus South's Greg Shirley, who has been this year's best with the bat.
That's a battle within the battle, and I'm looking forward to that one a lot.
Tomorrow's heat may force the match at Etzer Oval to be shortened to 40 overs a side, and a victory will mark a fairy tale for either team. Souths for their first grand final win in 6 seasons, or Corn for 3 titles on the trot.
That's the dream. Hopefully we can do that, so we'll have to wait and see on Saturday.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Now it's time to hear about all the other cricket action around the region.
Hello and welcome to preliminary final week of Port Pirie cricket. This weekend sees Props taking on Solly North at Port Oval with a 10:30 start to accommodate the Crows Power match at Memorial Oval. These sides have met on 5 occasions this season, with Solly North holding the upper hand. Props will need their top order to fire, as they have been disappointing lately. I'm tipping Props in a close one.
Yeah, g'day and welcome to the grand final week of Port Augusta cricket. The best 2 sides all year, South Augusta and Corn, face off in this week's grand final. South, this is their best chance to win after finishing top. Corn have won the last 2 grand finals. They're going to be very hard to beat. I'm going to lean towards South Augusta, so there's my tips. South Augusta to beat Corn for this week's grand final.
Welcome to round 12 of Wyler cricket. Saturday we'll see Central facing off South Wyler for their last game of the season. Hopefully South can be a bit more competitive but I'm going to tip Central with a big win. Sunday we'll see North versus Roos, which will be a prelim to the prelim final next weekend. It'll be interesting to see the tactics from both sides, with Nathan Van Ekeren looking to claim the bowling trophy and be a sneaky chance for the Wilder News medal. My tip, Rapina in a close one.
Welcome to this week's Port Lincoln Cricket Tips. First game of the round is Tasmans and Lincoln South here at Centenary Oval. Final result of this match has no bearing on the 4, but Tasmans should be too strong and get up in this one. The next game is Southern Air and Waybacks out at Wangari. Again, this game has no bearing on the 4. Southern Air finishing minor premiers and should get the job done against Waybacks. And in the final game, a match of the round out at Dorwood, Todd River and Charlton battle it out. Gonna tip Todd River to get over the line just in this one. Thanks for listening to the Port Lincoln Cricket Tips.
The Broken Hill District Cricket League semi-final kicks off this weekend at the Amber Oval at 12:30 p.m. and it's seeing South take on Central. South have had the wood over Central all year, but I reckon Central are going to go in favourites. They've come in of late and they've really made some good charges to the end of this year. For me, Central to win by, I'm going to say about 40 odd runs, and if not, about 5 wickets.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Britt.
Thanks, Casey. And we've seen more scorching conditions again today. Port Augusta and Whyalla reaching 42 degrees, Port Lincoln 41, Broken Hill 37, Port Pirie 42 and Adelaide 40. To the clouds now, and a dry air mass has kept the skies mostly clear. Tomorrow a slow-moving trough of low pressure will reach our coastal waters ahead of a cool change. On the waters tomorrow, southerly winds tending southwesterly at 20 to 25 knots, swells to 1 metre, and sunrise is due at 7:06 with sunset just before 8 p.m. And tomorrow that heatwave continues with fine and partly cloudy conditions across the region. Port Augusta and Whyalla with a top of 42, Port Lincoln 37, Coffin Bay 32, Woodner 43, Corn 40, Broken Hill 37, Port Pirie with a top of 41, Clare 39, Cleve and Kadina both 41 degrees. But that cool change is coming with much lower maximums expected on Sunday. Port Lincoln back down to 26 degrees to finish off the weekend and into next week. Cleve 31 on Sunday, Woodner falling back into the mid to late 30s. Whyalla dropping to a top of 34 on Sunday, mostly fine heading into the new week. Port Augusta down to 39 and then 36 Monday, Tuesday, and Kadina with maximums in the early 30s. Port Pirie down to 26 and staying fairly consistent over the coming days. Clare 34 on Sunday with highs sticking in the mid-30s. Broken Hill missing out on the cool change with maximums in the late 30s heading into next week. So Casey, we've got yet another hot day ahead, but Sunday will see much cooler temperatures.
Thanks for that, Britt. And that's the local news this Friday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.